Photoshop Senior Edition, folks. We're going to do a clipping path, and we're going to do a clipping mask. First, we're going to do the clipping path. And let's just get started by enlarging this hawk. I guess it's a red-tailed hawk. We'll have to ask somebody else that's more of a birder than I am. I'm enlarging this by simply doing the following. I am going to go back out real quick here. If we hold down the Control key, Option key on a Mac, the space bar, notice it turns into the magnifying glass. So Control spacebar, Option spacebar on a Mac turns it into the magnifying glass, and then we can click and drag a selection around the area we want to magnify. Now, if it doesn't do that on yours, go to your magnifying glass over here on the Tools palette, click on it, and make sure this scrubby zoom isn't checked, because if it is and you go like that, you don't see the lines. It just simply grabs and does. And if you prefer it that way, that's fine. I just kind of like to be able to make a selection and let go and get where I want. So, your call. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on the Paths tool right here. Looks like a old-fashioned tip of a pen, because that's kind of what it is. And we want the very top one, the pen tool. And what we do, this is just the basics. I'm going to tell you what to do. And this takes a lot of practice. A lot of practice to get good at it. What we do is, to make a straight line, you simply click, 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 and then we'll just keep clicking across here. When you get back to the beginning, it turns into the tool again, and then you see a O or a circle that shows you that it's completing the path. And so there you go. That's a path. All right. Now, it's not a path that we want, but that is a path. So I'm going to go over into my history, and if history isn't open to you, you can go up to Window, down to History, and click on it. I'm going to go over here in mine and just click on, right over here was Shake Reduction. I ran that to sharpen the image up just a little bit. And I'm going to show you how to make a curve or a circle. You would click and drag. Click and drag. So you can make curve edges. Click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, and then you get the point again. So let's start a new path over here. Click and drag, 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 click and drag. Let you finish the circle. Alright, now back over in history, I'm going to go back and get rid of all that. Now, on the hawk, it's a combination of things, and which it is on most shapes. Sometimes you'll be wanting to draw straight lines, sometimes you'll be wanting to draw curved lines, sometimes you'll be wanting to make more of a circle. So just kind of bear with me. I'm going to Control spacebar click, make it a little bit bigger. It's important to magnify, because to try to do this with the image being like this is impossible. You can't make a decent selection with the path tool around anything when it's out this far. So again, Control or Option, spacebar, click and drag. Now I'm holding down the spacebar and then I can move it. Just holding down the spacebar, click with the left mouse, and I can move my canvas around. Alright, turning on the pen tool, I'm going to click over here and I'm going to go ahead and start with a click and drag just to get the little handlebars. The handlebars allow us to fine tune if we need to. Now I'm going to put more points in, and that's what each one of these are called, points, than I really need, but I'd rather have more than less. I can go back and add more, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go ahead and put plenty in right now. So I'm basically following this black that goes around the edge. It's kind of an aberration, but it's kind of helpful in this particular case. I'm just going to click and drag right here. I'm going to go up a little bit, clicking and dragging just to enables me to make those little turns. Click and drag, and I try to drag this the same direction that I'm moving along the edge. So when I click here, I'm dragging that direction. Up here, I'm going to click and drag up a little, click and drag down this way, again, up a little bit, down this way a little bit, up a little, over here a little bit. You can see it wobbling a little. That one's not any good, so I'm going to do a Control Z to back up. I'm going to go right here, click a little bit. I'm going to hold down my Control or Command and make it a little bit bigger so I can get these edges. And this is why people don't make these kind of selections around a lot of things, because it is very tedious, time consuming, and like I said, it takes a bit of practice. So when you download this, do not expect immediately to be able to do this. You may immediately start saying bad words at your computer. I'm going to undo that, Control Z, go right here. I'm going to back up to Control Alt Z, go back here, try that, make that curve, back over here, come down here, oops, I didn't do the drag. It's always nice. Now see, sometimes when the curve is a long curve, sometimes you have to make the handlebars a little bit longer. Now these handlebars look long here, but then we're zoomed way in too. So if I zoom out, see they're a lot smaller. All right, so we come down here. Let's go back a couple. Need one here. I don't know why it's wanting to turn. Let me go back a few, make sure I've got things turned the right way here. Click and drag here. Click and drag here. Need to turn it that way here. Click and drag that way here. Get that little curve going that way. Click and drag here. Drag there. Now we got a curve the other way. Now we got a straight line, so we can click, nice clean straight line. Right here I'm going to click and drag to make this turn. Little curve, click and drag. I can make a click here and a click way down here and drag a little bit. Click and drag. Gonna make a turn right here. Click and drag. Click and drag. Straight line down to here. Straight line to here. Straight line to here. 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 Straight line to, let's say, here. I want to cut in just a little bitty bit. Straight line to here and then drag. Then we come down here, click and drag. Get those handlebars going along to make that curve. Then we come down here and then we can just click once, make it straight, go all the way down here. I'm holding down the space bar and just clicking and come way down to here, click and drag, and then come down here, click and drag to make that curve, and then come down here. I'm holding down the space bar, click once here and drag, click here and drag to make that curve. Point it up towards the direction we're going to go, and let me zoom out a little bit, Control minus or Command minus, because now we're going to shoot way up the page, and we're going to click right here and then drag, click, drag, click here, drag, and make that turn going to the left, and we're coming back over to the hawk. Click and drag, and let's zoom back in. Click with the Control key or Command key down, space bar down, clicking a couple of times till we can get in there and see good. So let's go click here once, don't drag. We're going to have a little curve there, so let's Control Z that. We'll click and drag right there. And let's click and drag right here. Come over here, click and drag, click and drag. That's not looking good there. Let's Control Alt Z. That's, yeah, we're kind of screwy there. Control Alt Z a couple of times. Let's try it here. Click and drag, click and drag. There we go. And then we should be able to click and no drag. Click, click here, click, 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 and click right up in there, click here, and then we're going to click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, then click, click and drag. We're just going to get a little bit of that. Click and drag a little bit. Click and drag. Click. Let's zoom out. Control or Command minus. And go up here and just click, no drag. Click down here. And let's drag it. Click and drag a little bitty bit. Click and drag a little bit. Click and drag a little. Just come up here and click. Click and drag. Click and drag. That's a little screwy, so let's Control Alt Z a couple of times. Let's zoom in a little bit more so we can better see. So I'm going to click and drag right here. Click and drag right here. Click and drag right here. Click. Click. Let's click and drag. just a little. Click and drag. Click. Click here. Click and drag. Click and drag just a little bitty bit. Click and drag. Click and drag just a little. Click and drag in the direction we're wanting to go. Click and drag. Click and drag. We're heading up this way, a little bit of a curve. Click and drag. Now we're clicking and dragging a little bit the other way. Click and drag. Click. 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 Click and drag. We're going to go up this way. Click and drag. Curve it over. Click and drag. Click and drag this way. Click and drag around. Click and drag this way. Click and drag this way. Click and drag around this way. Click and drag this way. Click and drag. Click and drag. Drag out around here just a little bitty bit. Click and drag this way. Click and drag a little bit. Click and drag up this way. Be patient with yourself. Click and drag. All of this is involving a little bit of click and drag. Not gigantic, but little baby steps, basically. But you're probably getting a good idea why people make use of the quick selection tools. So unless I just say a single click or just click, we're doing the click and drag. And notice we've got the completed circle right here. So we have a complete path. So I'm going to Control or Command minus several times, and you can kind of see the path, and that's what that is, a path around the sign and the hawk. So now what we need to do is go to Window, down to Paths, and on the paths you should see this wicked looking little icon that is representative of this. All we have to do now is click on this little symbol of the marching ants, and that turns all of this into marching ants. So here's what we do. We don't need this anymore, so we can just click the X to make that go away. We go to our layers, and what we can do is double click on the background layer. And now it's layer 0. Okay. So let's just create a new layer, and let's drag that below layer 0. So we have a blank layer. Now go back to layer 0 that has our hawk and sign, and what we're going to do is go up to Select and go to Inverse, because what we did was select all of this. Now we want to select everything but that. So when we did the inverse, it now has selected all of this other stuff, and now the hawk and the sign are not selected. So now all we need to do is hit the, or we don't really need to hit it, but press the backspace or delete key. Actually just hit the backspace, and everything should go away but our hawk and sign. Then you can go up to select and deselect, or use Control D. And if you zoom in, we should have rather a nice selection of our hawk. And you would see the same thing on our sign. You won't see any jagged edges like if you use the lasso or quick selection tool or any of that. If you look at these edges, they will be really nice, clean cut edges. And the more time you take making the paths and clip that like we just did, that's clipping path, because that's what we created around that was a path. And all it takes to do that is practice. And I haven't used a pen very much in probably 10 years. This is the most I've done with a pen tool in at least 10 years, maybe 12 years. So it's just a matter of using them, a matter of when you need to be able to use them. You want to be able to use them well. It's a matter of patience. It's not that hard to use the pen tools. It's just a matter of knowing that you got to turn it, to click and drag. Straight lines are just simply click from space to space or spot to spot. So practice is the key in making these clipping paths. Okay, so now we can put just any background we want behind our eagle. And would you know it, it's also in a closed area on the refuge, so can't go in there either. But that's pretty much it for the clipping paths. So how about a clipping mask? Oh, before you leave, I thought this part of the trees might look better, or maybe that part of the trees, I don't know. Okay, I have this image, and although it's colorful, it's not very much in focus. Up at the top especially, the base, I believe, is probably the most in focus part of the image. But anyway, it's not about the tree so much as it's about color, because what I'm going to do is put some text on top and just show you how to do a clipping mask. So let's get started with that. I'm going to create some text now, and just go over here to the text tool, or you can hit the letter T, whichever. Let's start off with black, so I'm going to go to the color picker that's up here at the top once we click on the T, and just go down here to the bottom right hand corner. That's about as black can be, so just click OK. And I'm going to go ahead and click and drag this giant box inside. So if you take your cursor with the T selected and just click with the left mouse down, I'm just running my words together tonight, just click and drag out a text box, then everything you type will go inside that box. It's a very convenient way to do text. Otherwise, if you click T and you start typing, now is the time, you see it just runs right off the page, and that's not very helpful if you want your text to fill the page up. It won't work very well. So I'm going to commit, and when we commit text, we're saying we're done. This is basically what that means. And if to do that, if we're in the text mode and you see the cursors flashing, basically indicating that we're in the text mode, there's two ways to finalize, and that's this checkbox here and the move tool. So if you click on either one of those, that finalizes, says you're done typing. So Now that's done. I'm going to throw that away. I'm just going to hit the backspace. Whoops, threw the wrong thing away. I'm going to click on that. I'm just going to hit the trash thing like I'm supposed to do. Let's do it again. I don't know how I got that. I'm going to hit text again, and I'm going to go back and do the click and drag to end up with a nice big text box. And this time I'm going to type inside the text box. Why the cursor is blinking outside the text box, I'm not sure, but fall is a beautiful time of the year to see lots of color. How about saturated? Well, doesn't quite fit. Don't you love the way I think every little detail out before I do anything? I'm going to do a Control A, and let's try, this is 183 points. Let's try 165. Let's try 175. That's okay. Let's commit that. Actually, let's select that all over again, and let's go to this box right here, and let's see if we can't fatten that up maybe a little bit. These are kind of the fake ways of doing it. If you notice, I have this, let's see, I don't have it on bold. That's, I don't know, why is black thicker than bold? I don't know. Let's click on that and see if it's, yeah, it made it too big. Let's see if we can't stretch this out a little bit more. Let's make it 135. Let's stretch it out a little bit more. Okay, let's try 155. I'm not wanting these to touch. That's the beauty of this box right here when you're dealing with text. Notice we can change the font, and we can change the font colors, and we can actually separate the words. Here's the spacing between the words. We can stretch out the words here, and we can, you know, make these things stretch out all kinds of different ways. So I'm going to try, I want to really fill this up because, let's commit this. I want to put that text or that picture inside this text. So let's just say that that's big and fat text, and that's fine. What I want to do next, I'm going to come down here to background, and I'm going to just double click it again because I want to be able to fiddle with the background, and you can't do much with the background as long as it says background and has that padlock on it. I'm going to come in here and make a new layer, and see, I can't with the, let me undo that. Control Alt Z a couple of times. With the background layer having this padlock on it, if I make a new layer, I can't drag that new layer underneath. So I can't really do anything with this background layer as long as it has that lock on it. So let's double click that, and we'll turn it into layer 0, which means now it's not a locked background. So I'm going to drag this layer 1 underneath it. It's nothing special. I just want to fill that with black. Now black is the foreground color over here in my color picker, right? So I'm going to just hold down my Alt key and hit backspace. So now it's filled with black. Now, just for you note takers, if I wanted to fill that layer with white, can you guess what I would fill that, what the keyboard shortcut would be to fill that with white? Well, instead of holding down the Alt key or Option key on a Mac, I would hold down the Control key and hit backspace, and it would fill it with white. So to fill the layer with background color, which is in this case white, sometimes it may be green or red or whatever, whenever it's the background, you can fill it with Alt key and backspace if it's a PC. If it's a Macintosh, it would be Option backspace. And if you want to fill it with the white, it would be Command backspace on a Mac and Control backspace on a PC. Okay? So now here's the magic. To make this into a clipping path, to put the image into the text, let's just take the image on top of the text, and we're going to hold down the Option key or the Alt key on a PC, Option key on a Macintosh, and if you move your mouse in between these two layers, holding down the Alt or Option key, it turns into that little arrow with a square. It means that it's going to kick this layer over and insert it into this text. So here we go. Now this layer is still there, very visible, because that's what you're seeing there. But if I take and turn on the Move tool or hit the letter V as in victory, I can still move this photo that's on layer 0 around, and we can get different looks out of this depending on where we leave that photograph that's on top there. If I go ahead and hold down the Alt key or Option key on a Mac and undo that by simply clicking that again, you see that's all I'm doing. I'm just simply moving this around into different positions. And if I Alt key or Option key click that again, that's all I'm doing is moving that around, giving you different looks. Isn't that kind of neat looking? So there are lots of things that you can use as clipping masks. Let me give you another example. Okay, now you see some text on this. This is a temple that's over by Harrisburg. And Chris Kilman and I were over there very early one morning and wanting to photograph this very, very badly until we saw the no trespassing signs. But anyway, from a distance we were able to get some okay photographs, but not able to go in and get the kind of photos that we wanted to get. But anyway, for this example, it's going to hopefully be interesting and give you some thoughts. You see I've already included some text, real original, I know. Okay, but here goes the magic. Let's turn the text off so we can eliminate some distractions. I'm going to go down and click on the layer that is the image. I'm going to select these 4 places right here. And these are just bay areas. They're obviously they've got steel bars in them now, so you can't drive trucks into them. But we're going to select them, and it's very easy in Photoshop to do, obviously. This is the quick selection tool. And I'm going to use my right bracket key, located up to by the letter P, as in Papa, And left bracket key makes things smaller, right bracket key makes it larger, and if I just click and drag, you see we get that nice selection area. We'll do that here and here and here. Now I've got more here than I want. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, holding down the Control and space bar, Command space bar on a Mac, and I'm going to make my brush size smaller, and I'm going to deselect this area by holding down the Alt or Option key. So I'm just running that down through the middle and across here, still holding down the Alt key. We'll get rid of that right there too. Select that by letting go. Alright, now here again is the magic. We will make a copy of what's right here. We've got them selected. Here's the layer. All we have to do is do a Control or Command J. That puts these bars on their own layer. Okay, we just made a perfect copy of nothing but those bars. I'm going to turn this text on, and now you're going to see that text get clipped just inside those bars. And how I'm going to do that, let's just move that text down directly above that. And what I'm going to do, same as before, hold down my Alt key, Option key on a Mac, run it between the two layers, and left click. Now the text is basically clipped. This is now a clipping mask, and if I turn on the Move tool, all the text now is flowing through here. It's just being masked. Isn't that kind of cool? You can do that with those windows, so forth. Let's take it a step further. We got this little opening here, and we've got that text right there. So let's make a selection out of that hole. So once again, the quick selection tool. We got a little bit more than what we want. Holding down the Alt or Option key, we'll shave that down a little bit. And let's zoom in, because we're getting, we don't have a great circle there. Let's go ahead and grab this part, grab a little bit of that and not that. It learns. That's one of the things that people sometimes don't understand, that the quick selection tool learns. So if you go like this, you hold down the Alt or Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and you do that, and you keep doing it with the Alt key. It starts snapping to, it gets the idea, oh, he doesn't want this, or she doesn't want this, and it learns, and it gets better at learning as it goes. Obviously, you don't want that part left out. So I kind of like the idea of it clipping inside that. It's going to look a little odd maybe over there. I'm not going to worry too much about that. So I'm just going to do a Control J again so I can have a copy of just what's in this circle. So Control J, and I'm going to move it up here underneath that other text that's right there, right? So right now it's on top. Let's zoom out, Control or Command minus, and again we're going to clip the text into that circle. So hold down the Alt or Option key between these two layers, and now that text is clipped inside. Let's turn on the Move tool so you can see it's all still there, and we can move it up and down and it doesn't show on this side, doesn't show on this side, doesn't show up here or down here. It just is totally clipped to the area that we selected. Now, what about a nice heart shape? So let's just go ahead and fill this entire image with black. How do we do that again? Oh yeah, let's go ahead and let's flatten this whole image. So I just did a flatten. Was it Alt and Option backspace? Alt or Option backspace. All right, over here, these are the vector graphic tools. These things are fantastic. Remember, we've got polygonal tools, and if you click and drag this, and you can change the size just by rotating the mask, or rotating the mask by rotating the circle. I think that's awesome. It's kind of hard to beat something like that. You've also got the rectangle. Now remember, that's not this tool. This is a selection tool up here. That just does that. Okay. This tool is a vector graphic. And remember, always, any of these tools here, vector graphic, remember, means no matter how large or how small you make a vector graphic, it stays perfect. It doesn't diminish in quality. Now, these things are not vector graphics. These are raster graphics, and they do diminish in quality because when we make them big, they diminish in quality in a hurry. But you can take a vector graphic, and this, by the way, is a solid object now. I can make this vector graphic 1,000 times bigger than it is now, and it will still, the lines will still be as pure as they are here, and you will not see the little pixels because it will stay perfect. Now let's throw that away and that away and Control D that. Now all of these tools are at your disposal, including the straight line. But right here is the custom shape. And under the custom shape, there are lots of nice shapes. And yours may not be showing when you click on that. Remember always, when you click on one of these, look for the little gear. Because where the little gear is, there's always more. So if you click on that, you've got all of these things. What I believe in doing, if you see an all, go for the all. Click it, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK because I'm not going to lose anything. All means all. So it's just going to give you everything it's got. Now for this demonstration, for what I'm showing you here, I'm just going to clip a picture inside of a heart. So all we need to do is find the heart. Look at all the stuff we've got: light bulbs and hands. We've got a flag. We've, chess pieces, pins, and all that good stuff. So click on the heart right here. And by the way, who doesn't like, a nice little bunny rabbit? Or you could clip, put a big cat on there and then put a picture of a cat in the, well, never mind, cat and the cat. Anyhow, the heart. Let's get back to the heart image. Cancel that. Hold down. If you just click and drag, you can make the heart any shape you want to. That's going to be a goofy looking heart. But whatever the color is over here on your color picker, is going to be the color of your graphic. So if you hold down your shift key, you will get a perfect shaped heart, unless you mess things up really badly, like I just did. So let me try it again. Hold down shift. Now remember, it's not flat on there, so you can use your move tool to put it where you want it. Now, while it's nice red heart right now, at least on mine, when we clip into it, it's going to be replaced, the red's going to be replaced by our image. And guess what? I just happen to have this beautiful picture of this beautiful little girl, and I threw it on top here. And I'm going to do what we did in the other images with the text and so forth. I'm just going to hold down my Alt key or Option key on a Mac, drag it between these two layers, and left click. And then I'm going to use my Move tool, and I can put it in here wherever I want to for best effect. How about them apples? Now let's kick this up a little bit. Let's, another notch. And we can reshape or resize this, remember. Let's say we want to make this a, send somebody a little Valentine's card. Boy, I'm doing a lot of Valentine's stuff. It doesn't have to be Valentine's. Any holiday, just, send somebody a love message, whatever. Let's say we're just going to send somebody an email with something in it. Remember, you change the resolution first, and let's get it over here, and let's say we want to make this a let's say make this a 4x6, more traditional photo size from Walmart type thing. So we'll do a Control-0 to get it back up to size. With this on the heart shape, we just go down here to the FX button. Let's go to Bevel and Emboss, and let's just see what we can do here. Let's go to Chisel Hard, and let's take the size up a little bit, not too much. Let's go over here to Contour number 1, and let's experiment. Let's put some different kinds of contours up and see what we can do. Let's click back on Bevel and Emboss again and change the size, and you can soften it if you want. I'm going to leave the depth, the size there, soften I'm going to leave alone. You can experiment with some of these other things. I think probably Bevel and Emboss is going to be the one thing that you can change. Not much else is going to help. This is going to probably just be the best thing that we can do, but you can certainly experiment with the different bevels. You can come in there and on the contours and see which one of these. Remember, you got a gear. Reset contours, load contours, click on contours. Let's just click OK. Some of these work better than others, obviously. Let's just see what this one will do once we get it back over here. Size. Maybe not chisel hard, chisel soft. Smooth. Better bevel. Size. So experiment, I guess, is what we're back to again. Like my common theme is experiment. See what you come up with. Click back on the image. Again, find where it needs to be for you. There's a lot of things that you can, use to clipping mask stuff with. Shapes and so forth. Images, like I showed you right here. So just get experimental, have some fun. That's what I'm trying to, get with you in these classes about, is turning your imagination loose, getting those juices flowing. I remember getting to a point in photography that I felt like I'd photographed all there was to photograph. And of course, that's a crazy feeling. There's no way in the world that we could, any of us, reach that point. But I just thought, what else am I going to work on? And then when I got into Photoshop, it was like, wow. And there, I can't even begin to find a place where I can say, well, I've done it all now. Because in Photoshop, it's more discovery all the time. And it's just, can be a lot of fun. Don't get bogged down on things that you haven't learned yet. There's plenty of time. Be patient with yourself. Ask questions and experiment. The best way, I think, of learning Photoshop is work on stuff, run into the wall. And I've run into so many walls working on Photoshop, it isn't funny, brick walls. And find a crack somewhere, find a window and crawl through it, find a door if you can. But, go around the whole building, but find a way to move forward. There's always an opening somewhere, and you just bounce off that wall and you go for it again. You pick yourself back up and just don't get discouraged. Don't give up on yourself. Yep, there's going to be things that seem difficult and overwhelming sometimes, but folks, trust me, if I can do this, you can do it. And I've had a lot of people say, yeah, but you just do this stuff automatic, blah, blah, blah. I didn't when I started. I felt a lot of times when I was overwhelmed. I can remember sitting in a class with people that were throwing textbooks out the doorway. They were so frustrated. It can be that way sometimes, but don't ever give up. It is going to be worth the ride. So hang on, buckle up, and put your nose into it and just follow your nose. It's going to lead you the right direction. Talk to y'all later. Have fun. Bye-bye.